Hello. Today's stories come from r/entitled people. We've got three stories starting with You won't stop smoking on your porch at night? Guess we'll burn our house down. Hi, all. Just found out why there were a bunch of flashing lights and loud sirens on the street behind mine last night, and I am gobsmacked. The family that used to live in the house behind mine, whoever so helpfully called the police on me after I gave them a heads up about their Wi Fi, has moved out. A new family has moved in. Our houses are separated by a couple hundred feet and a brush line. I found this out because they came to talk to me last week about my smoking a joint before I go to bed on my porch and how the smell is terrible and it's bothering them, and I just need to not do that. Note, I smoke precisely 1/2 gram joint on my screened in porch before bed, perhaps 3 to 4 times a week. The likelihood that any of the smoke from that is going anywhere near their house is slim to none. I told the new back neighbors I'll turn a ceiling fan on to thin out the smell, but I'm not going to get eaten alive by bugs just before bed because they don't want me to smoke on my own property. Porch is screened in. I guess this answer didn't satisfy them, because last night one of them came up with a cunning plan to get back at me. They dug a hole in their lawn, built a fire with a bunch of green pine wood so it'd be extra smoky, started the fire, and then put a box fan pointed at my porch next to the fire and went inside. Three guesses what happened. If you guessed they set their own house on fire, you would be correct. One of their next door neighbors called 911 because some cinders from the fire set my back neighbor's house on fire. I have no idea how much the fire damaged the house. Only that the people who live there got arrested and given an impressive set of fines for negligence and a bunch of other things. Did I mention my county is under a fire weather warning and all of those fines are multiplied? The juiciest part, and the reason I decided to post on here about it was one of the cops was talking to the neighbors who were going on and on about the awful pot smell that I was causing and making the house uninhabitable. Cop sniffs a little bit and tells them that's not marijuana, that's a skunk. It was a skunk all along? That's hilarious. I think one of the comments said the houses were hundreds of feet apart, so I can't believe any smoke would travel that far. And even if it did, it would be so fleeting. I can't believe that they would set an intentional fire during a fire weather warning. Instant karma, baby. There were some pretty funny comments on this one. Infamous Oz said, Damn, friend, you might ought to talk to a lawyer and see about charges. They could have killed you. Outside of that, blatant harassment. OP replied, As far as I'm concerned, the charges they got and the big dumb they're feeling evens the scales. Unfortunate Bastard added, The big dumb they're feeling? They're probably blaming you. Don't be surprised if they try again to get back at you. OP replied, I'll keep my eyes peeled, but I'm not sure how well it would go for them. Their first plan worked out real well. Ginger Welsh Cookie said, What the actual? Is the Darwin Awards honorable mention still a thing? Yikes, these people are bloody stupid. And no math, physics, meteorology majors? All over a bit of bad pot smoke? Sheesh, and we thought Karens were bad. Well, they are, but I think I made my point regardless. Best bad neighbor story ever, OP. OP replied, That's the funniest part. The smell that was driving them so mental wasn't even pot. It was from what I assume was a fox pestering a skunk and getting a life lesson. Our next one is a Hulk-size level of entitlement. My sister ripped up my Stan Lee autograph, and I haven't forgiven her, even if my mom is pressuring me to, for family's sake. Okay, so I am a huge Marvel nerd. The kind of nerd that cosplays, goes to cons, and draws her own stuff, mostly fan service. My sister ridicules my hobby, saying that it's pathetic and messed up. She claims I am delusional as a grown woman playing dress up. Besides that, we have a good relationship. We are not friends, but sisters, if that makes sense. So 3 years ago, I managed to save up enough to go to a con in the USA and meet the real Stan Lee. He signed one of my own pictures I did of the big three and complimented it. It was one of the best days of my life. Since then, the signed picture has always been on my wall. Flash forward, a few weeks ago, my sister asks for my jacket and I tell her no. Reason being that she was a total witch to me the whole week. She pouted and I left the house. When I come back, I see my fracking Stan Lee autograph ripped up on the floor. I fracking lost it. Then my sister came in and started teasing me. Look at that, a grown woman crying over a piece of paper. When she saw that I was for real distressed, she started saying that it was just a piece of paper, that I can get a new one. I pushed her out of my room and have been extremely short with her since. She tries to engage in conversation, but I shoot her down. She tries to bribe me with movie tickets, and I tell her to go with her boyfriend, etc. She hasn't apologized for it. She just says that I should be over it by now. My mom says the same. She says a materialistic thing shouldn't come in between family and that I should simply let it go. My dad is also really mad at my sister and, by extension, my mom. He is as big on Marvel as me, and he was livid when he found out. This whole ordeal is literally splitting our family apart. My mother and sister think I am being unfair by not letting go, and I think they both disrespected me. Mom is mad at dad for not talking sense into me and taking my side, and dad is mad at mom for failing to punish my sister and spoiling her. I feel awfully guilty, but also raging mad. Can someone help me with this? Edit. Thanks, guys, for listening to me. I feel a lot better. I will take what many of you said, and I am going to send them examples of how much Stan Lee's autograph costs. But I think I have to word it very good so that they don't think that I would split up the family over money. Update 1. Thanks for the support. My dad and I found someone that restored pictures, and we are taking my piece to it. Dad is going to use part of the money he was going to gift my sister for her car down payment. As you can imagine, sister threw a fit and is staying with mom at my grandparents' now. Comments from OP. In response to a question about the state of the piece and potentially moving out. I taped it together, but there were some pieces missing or too shredded to put together. It's really bad. The thing is, I can't move out. The flat market is really bad here, and on my job alone, I could not pay rent and support myself. Also, I am very close to uni, and moving farther away would also skyrocket my transportation costs. In response to a comment pointing out her sister's lack of remorse. I don't know about remorse. She freaked out when I freaked out. After teasing me and seeing me break down, she hit anxious and kept repeating that it was just a piece of paper. She hasn't apologized for anything. Update 2. Thanks for the great advice. So, a lot has happened after mom and sister left, and we took the money that was meant for my sister's car down payment for the restoration. My grandma called me and asked what was happening. I explained to my grandma what happened and tried explaining who Stan Lee was. Surprisingly, she understood just perfectly. I was relieved. For a moment, I thought my dad and I would get crap from everyone. My sister started giving me crap about telling our grandma and being a snitch. I told her that she asked me, and I just told the truth. But what took the cake was that my sister apparently ranted in her friend group chat about me and how she couldn't understand my behavior. She again ridiculed my hobby and so on. One of the dudes was really upset, and they had a big argument in the GC. The dude was so mad that he posted the screenshots in his Insta story, and they spread like wildfire. She is now being ostracized by our community with a few exceptions. My mom and sister came back in the morning. They didn't talk much to us. My mom came in my room and asked if we found someone that restored the picture. We had a short, dry conversation till she asked me why I was making such a big deal about it. And I shut her up, like you guys told me to. I started by explaining who Stan Lee was, how long the painting took me, how much it meant to me, equated it to the monetary value, and ended it with, it's not only about the autograph. It's about the disrespect you both showed me and how little you seem to care about me. You said that it was not worth it to destroy family over materialistic things, but your daughter destroyed my most valuable possession because I didn't lend her my jacket. Y'all, my mom cried. She apologized profusely. She said she just didn't know how to deal with it and just wanted the tension to be over, and as I was more cool-headed than my sister, she selfishly expected me to be the bigger person. My mom and dad are now talking to my sister very seriously because she has yet to apologize for everything. Update 3 from OP in the comments. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I wrote this post about 2 years ago. I once again locked myself out of Reddit after a social media hiatus. My sister never really grew up after that. I wrote that she was 22 in the post, but truth is, she was already 24. I just fudged with the ages a bit. She went on to get married to a decent guy and cheated on him. Pfft, she never really apologized for that whole thing. And me and my mom are currently not talking because of another situation. My dad remains cool. He separated from my mother like a few months after the original post I did. My mother remarried a complete pushover. One Redditor did reach out to me offering an autographed picture of Stan Lee. I didn't end up taking him up on that offer, but it's the thought that counts. Yeah, so I don't know about the third update. It's a different username, but there's hardly anything crazy in there that would make me think someone would bother faking it, so I left it in. The entitlement on the sister is unreal. I was mad reading this. Why would you destroy an original artwork signed by Stan Lee over a jacket? Even if you didn't know who he was, just destroying the art alone would be over the top, and that wasn't even acknowledged. What am I even reading? Is this what parents failing to have any discipline looks like in the end? Gosh. Let's see a few comments before the next story, starting with the comment OP referred to in the update that spelled out what she should and did tell her mom. Someone posted, "Nope. Tell your mom this with your sister and father present." Mom, sister ripped up something that I worked hard on to create that was signed by someone I admire who is now dead. I can never get it replaced. If something materialistic shouldn't get in the way of us being family, like sister says, then perhaps she shouldn't have ripped up my poster in retaliation for not lending her a jacket. She is a hypocrite, and I refuse to let this go. She retaliated for something as basic as a jacket, but thinks I should just move on? I had to make the poster myself, which took hours. Then I had to spend a lot of money to go to a convention to meet Stan Lee, and spend even more to get him to sign my piece. The sentiment of that piece was priceless, so it's not just a piece of paper to me. I will not move on from this, and I won't forgive her. She should put her money where her mouth is. If something materialistic shouldn't get in the way of us being family, then she shouldn't have ripped up that poster. Period. OP replied, "Dude, that's amazing. I will use that. Thank you." Jenny McCarthy Kills BA said, "Well, this reminds me of the time in Little Women when Amy burned Joe's book of short stories. Joe refused to forgive her, and then the next day, Amy fell through the ice while skating and almost died. Joe was so devastated at the thought of losing her sister and blamed herself for going to bed angry." Which was a load of BS. I'm still mad about 30 years after reading it for the first time. It's not your job to make your sister who did something cruel and horrible to you feel better about it. Vodka Philosophy said, "You and your dad are 100% right. Your sister is a spoiled witch and your mom enables her. Your mother cannot pull the for the family's sake card if she's not willing to treat everyone in the family equally importantly. Your sister destroyed something that literally cannot be replaced, and unless she faces some sort of punishment or consequences for that make her truly realize how terrible what she did to you is, you will always feel resentful. I would even argue that she needs to save up and pay for you to attend another convention of your choice. You will never be able to replace Stanley's signature or words of praise, but it can maybe become another enjoyable experience that might ease the sting just a smidge." Our last story comes from the land of summer sausage and potato vodka. Karen doesn't like people parking in front of her house. So, when I was around 6 years old, I lived with my family in a nice house in a small city in Poland. It was a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts, and pretty much all the neighbors knew each other. There were no sidewalks around the part of the street I lived at, only one crappy sidewalk that started on the other side in front of my neighbor's house. It's important to remember that the sidewalk was very old and in bad shape. Still to this day, people are asking the city to fix it. This story is about that neighbor, Karen. She was an older lady. Everyone suspected that she really didn't have anything better to do than gather gossip and disturb everyone trying to rule the street. Everyone was commenting that if you wanted to get the whole area to know something, you had to tell her that message as a secret. Whenever someone came to visit us, they usually parked their car in front of our property. But on bigger meetups like barbecues or parties, people would park in front of our closest neighbors' houses too. That never was a problem. No gates were obstructed and no one was disturbed. Well, almost. Karen hated when someone parked in front of her house. She would always run out yelling about how we dared to park our filthy cars on her precious sidewalk. My mother is not someone that lets someone yell at her. She had many discussions with Karen about the laws and rules that stated that she doesn't own anything outside her fence, which means that the sidewalk is public and anyone can park on it as long as they leave enough space for a wheelchair to pass. That wasn't enough. Every time someone would come to us and park their car there, the yelling would start. Until one time when my mother's friend Tomek came for a coffee during winter. He's a local policeman and his specialty is road law. So my mother tells him about Karen and her behavior regarding the sidewalk. Tomek laughs since that thing was in such a bad shape that it can barely even be called a sidewalk. When he was leaving, he assured my mom that he would step by next day for a coffee on his lunch break. Next day comes by, and I was playing with my brother in the snow. We see a black car pulling over in front of Karen's house, and as the driver gets out, Karen storms out of her house yelling, "You can't park here. This is my sidewalk. Get your filthy car off my prop." Well, there he was. Tomek, with his full uniform, hat and all, turning around towards Karen as comically as he could. "Excuse me? You tell me that I can't park my car here?" Yes. But this is a sidewalk open to the public." "Yes, this is my sidewalk." So let me get this straight. This is your sidewalk. Yes. And you are the one responsible for taking care of it? Karen says proudly, well, yes, I am. That's why I don't allow anyone to park here. Oh, that's so nice that I found you. Since it's your sidewalk, you are responsible for clearing the snow from it to not create danger for the people walking on it. Since it was not plowed, I need to write you a fine for endangering public safety, he says as he pulls out his note block. But no other sidewalks are plowed. Oh, it doesn't matter. The other sidewalks belong to the city. The clearing crew is working on cleaning them, but since this sidewalk is yours, it's your responsibility. But I'm old. I can't shovel the snow. Then you need to hire someone to do that. Of course, if the sidewalk happened to be of public property, yes, yes, it's not mine. But a moment ago, you were yelling at me that it was. So what is it? Is it yours or not? Because I don't know if I should fine you now. No, it's not mine. All right, seems like we cleared that up. Now, if you ever harass anyone like you did with me, it could result in a fine. So I recommend you watching out on what you claim to be yours. And then he proceeded to cross the street and enjoy a coffee in her house. Karen never disturbed anyone for parking in front of her house again. She would only stare at people trying to burn holes in their skulls with her sight. Oh, I get comments all the time asking what is wrong with North America and all these Karens. But it's just that Reddit is primarily an English website, so it's a little skewed. So beware international viewers. These Kerinskis exist, and they exist everywhere. There were some pretty funny takes in the comments. The filthy daughter in law said, so the parking Karens are an international sisterhood? OP replied, I lived in 3 countries so far. There have been parking Karens in every single one. So yeah, you can escape them, no matter where you move. Filthy daughter in law replied, maybe because someone parking in front of their house blocks their view of what those people are up to, aka spying on the neighbors. Because all parking Karens I've heard of were also nosy old biddies who just lived for gossip. Web added, in my local city, the city likes to run it both ways. The city owns the sidewalk in front of your house and sometimes half your front yard too, but makes you clear the snow off of it and is happy to fine you if you don't. When it comes time to replace the sidewalk, the city generously only charges you half of their cost to do so. OP replied, generously. Yeah, the cities and their generosity. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.